This is my lucky blue suit. I brought it in yesterday morning, but I didn't want to jinx it and wear it. And so, but I wear it on good luck days, and I had a feeling I'd be wearing it. Here it is. Thank you. All right. So, as you know, it's been a long, tough, and winding road. At last, we've arrived, and we are elated. Every member of my caucus is elated about what happened because we've changed the world in a way that you rarely get an opportunity to do that. With the Inflation Reduction Act, this Senate Democratic majority has achieved what countless others have come to Washington promising to do but ultimately failed to deliver. And I am really confident that the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining feats of the 21st century. And we did it without a single vote to spare. To do something with 50 votes is rough. To do small things with 50 votes is rough. To pass such a major piece of legislation with only 50 votes, an intransigent Republican minority, a caucus running from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin. Wow. And I give such credit to my caucus. They are amazing. They pulled together throughout these last few days. Every senator I said, please don't offer this amendment. Don't vote on this because it could pull apart the bill even though you might need it. Just about every single person cooperated. And it's amazing. I'm just so, and you could see how happy everybody was if you were in the gallery when the bill passed. Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of manufacturing jobs, enhances our energy security, and is the boldest climate package in U.S. history. The Senate has now passed the most significant bill to fight the climate crisis ever, and it's going to make a difference to my grandkids. The world will be a better place for my grandchildren because of what we did today, and that makes me feel very, very good. Very, very good. This is sort of like the creation of the EPA and the passage of the Clean Air Act half a century ago. The legislation marks a turning point in our nation's commitment to protect our planet. And the Senate has finally also taken on Big Pharma and will, after decades of trying, be able to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. The Inflation Reduction Act is going to lower prescription drug costs for seniors, and that's been ever since I got here. In the Senate in 1999, we've been trying to do this, and finally we have, in a major way. And don't forget, we capped the price of insulin for seniors on Medicare at $35 a month. This was added to the bill yesterday, and it's a big, big win for millions of seniors. According to CMS, 1 in every 3 Medicare beneficiaries has diabetes. 3.3 million Medicare beneficiaries use one or more of the common forms of insulin. In 2017, Republicans passed legislation that added $2 trillion to the deficit using reconciliation. This Senate, the Democratic-led Senate, has passed a bill that does all of the above and still reduces the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. And Joe Manchin was alert to this problem early and left his real imprint on this bill with deficit reduction, which I think all of my caucus happily followed. And I just want to again thank the leadership, hard work, and persistence of all of my colleagues, their teamwork, their spirit of teamwork, their knowledge that we had to pull together to get something done is awesome to me. Not awesome in the way the kids use the word, but in the biblical sense. You sort of tremble in awe before the angels of God. It's just amazing. The American people, as you know, overwhelmingly support our legislation. It's not hard to understand why Americans feel this way. We're delivering on the things they care about. We don't have to make things up. When the Republicans did their big tax bill in 2017, they said it was going to reduce your taxes to the average middle-class person, but it was aimed at the rich. We are talking about exactly what this bill does. We don't have to make it up because we're aiming directly at the American people and what they want. So, let me say this. saying no to something is easy. It gets mistaken that, oh, saying no, oh, that's tough. There's no strategy or cunning to saying no. It's simple, it's easy. Legislating is about getting to yes. I've always been a yes person, not a no person. And I always wanted to get something done. And if you ask me, what helped you get this done? Some people have asked me that. I'd put it in one word: persistence. And I just tell you a brief story for those of you who hadn't heard about my dad. My dad passed away in November. He would have been 99 on Flag Day, June 14th. He helped. No, I won't go into the whole story, but he was a brilliant participant in World War II and helped perfect radar. Flew over the hump. But when he came back, my grandpa, who had bought a little exterminating business, the family was starving because my grandpa, who was a union organizer, was sort of an idealist. Would tell people, "Oh, you look poor. You shouldn't have rats and roaches. Pay me when you can." He told the 3 workers in the business he bought to form a union, and he promised to pay them more money than him. So the family was starving. For the next 45 years, my father goes into this junkie business. He hated it, but he never complained, and I never even heard him utter a word of resentment about people who were given a better break than him. For those of you who've been close to your parents, my dad's still here, and he taught me 2 values, and that's why I tell the story. The first is always help people who need help. That's a noble thing. But the second is, if you're doing the right thing and you persist and don't quit, God will reward you. You'll succeed. That has motivated me my whole life. And I think this bill proved it. We had many bumps in the road, many times when it looked like it would never happen, but we never gave up. And here we are. We got it done. And one final point. I always prefer to work in a bipartisan way. That's my preference. That's what I've done throughout my career here in the Senate and in the House. And in the last 6 weeks, we have accomplished some incredible things. CHIPS, PACT Act, NATO, guns, WRDA, all bipartisan, all significant. But even though I prefer to work in a bipartisan way, when it's really important and the Republicans won't participate, we have to do it on our own. And that's the opportunity, even with 50 votes, that reconciliation affords us. And that's what we used. That's what we did. And we'll continue to do that. So in short, it's a momentous achievement, momentous. And it's going to set our country in a path to better days ahead. I think the public will understand that. And I think it's going to help us in November significantly in 2 ways. First, the specific things we're doing that people care so much about. And second, hey, Democrats, even in this tough situation, polarized, 50-50, can actually get big things done. So there we are. Okay? Yes?
Senator Schumer, you talk about the imprint that Senator Manchin has had on this bill. The same goes for Senator Sinema. What would you say to some people who criticize the amount of power and influence that they have?
Well, look, in a 50-50 Senate, anyone can have some influence, and each of them had ideas. Senator Manchin was talking about inflation long before everybody else, and sort of the world caught up with him. And his all-of-the-above energy policy, even though I might have some specific disagreements with it, has generally gotten much broader acceptance, particularly after Ukraine war and oil prices going up, et cetera. So he had a real impact on the bill. Senator Sinema had specific issues he was interested in. She was always very smart about it, and she was true her word. This morning we had a real bump in the road because Senator Sinema had promised Senator Thune that she would vote for his amendment and to cut back on state and local deductibility. There were a few members of my caucus, not me, even though I care about the issue, who said they're not going to vote for the bill if it cuts it. So we spent several hours trying to figure out a way to keep Senator Sinema true to her word to Senator Thune, but get it done. And we did, and you saw the result. Yes?
You talked about some bumps in the road. This still has to go through the House. Are you anticipating any issues with the House?
When all of the 50 Democrats in the Senate vote for the bill, including the progressive wing of, Bernie and Elizabeth and Eddie Markey and people like that, and the conservative wing, the more conservative wing, I think it's going to set a tableau for the House that will make it much easier for the House to pass. Yes?
Since this
Some of the things they'll find quite quickly, and some of the things will take a longer time. But even, say, prescription drugs, the fact that you know you're going to pay less is going to be a load off your shoulders. Yes?
There are still several accomplishments that weren't included in this final bill that Democrats wanted, like child tax credit,
Yes.
paid leave. So how are you going to...
Look, I cared about these family issues. Senator Manchin, when we negotiated, felt given the needs to fight inflation, we didn't have time to do it. But we are going to return to those issues with a vengeance, and in the fall, and in every way that we can. I believe in them very, very strongly, and so does most of our caucus. And I think we are not forgetting those family issues. We knew we had to accomplish what we could accomplish, but there's more to do. Both in the areas where we did stuff, there's more to do on climate, but also in the areas that we were unable to get a 50-vote majority for that bill, for those proposals. Yes?
Senator, on climate, in 2010, the Waxman-Markey bill didn't even come up for a vote in the Senate, even though you actually had a larger Democratic Senate majority than you did now. So what is different from 12 years ago? And then also, in the fall, when you think of permitting reforms, can you give us any sort of preview on what issues are going to come up?
Look, on climate overall, the fact that so many people now across America have seen the fires and the floods and the tornadoes and the hurricanes, the heat, that the weather is changing, have made many more people believers in climate change. So it's easier now than it was then. The urgency of the issue is much, much greater. You know, when you see a fire not so far from your home, or a flood or whatever, when you hear that, you know, if you live in Miami, the whole place may be flooded in 20 years, it makes a greater urgency. In terms of the permitting reform, I didn't like it, but it was something that Senator Manchin wanted, and we modified it some. And in fact, it has some very good things for the environment. It's going to make permitting easier for clean energy. And, you know, there are lots of red states that won't build transmission lines from the places where there's a lot of wind and sun to the places where there are a lot of people. So it's a mixed bag. We use these people who are, the modelers. They do models. And some of the modelers actually thought it would be a net decrease in carbon in the atmosphere. And I would say one thing in all of that. I told my caucus, I didn't tell them details because Manchin and I didn't want to, and particularly Joe didn't want it disclosed, didn't want everything made public every day. But I told my caucus all along, including the most pro-environmental people, that we're going to have to swallow some bad stuff to get good stuff, but my North Star was always 40% reduction in the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere by 2030, and we've achieved that North Star. Very important. Yerka.
You've got a lot accomplished this Congress, both on a bipartisan basis and also on a partisan basis. Does this change your view of the need for filibuster reform?
Well, I've always said everything's on the table, and as I said, I like to work in a bipartisan way when we can. But when we can't, we should not. So I think, you know, everything should be on the table here to get things done. My job is to get things done. Our job as a Senate is to get things done for the American people, and we'll use whatever tools that are necessary to do it. Yes?
Senator Schumer, could you speak to what the Senate schedule will look like in September and whether you plan to bring up the same-sex marriage bill?
Yeah, I will. We will have a vote on marriage equality. That's what you're supposed to call it. We will have a vote on it. I'm not giving you a timetable. We'll come back in September. There's a whole lot to do. And one of the important things we have to do as judges, and as you know, Court of Appeals judges take 30 hours each. I just filed for 2 of them to be due first thing when we came back, one from the 6th Circuit and one from the 9th, I don't remember. But we got to get these judges done. They're lifetime appointments. They're very important. And we'll keep working on them. But as you know, there's lots of things we need to get done. I'm going to try to get as much of it done as we can. Yes, last one.
One of the, probably the biggest issue facing your incumbents or your candidates in the fall is inflation. This is the Inflation Reduction Act. Are you confident by Election Day that Americans will begin to feel
Yes.
ease?
I think they're already feeling some ease. Price of gasoline is down close to $1. And there are lots of things in this bill that will matter to people, also in the CHIPS bill that will matter to people. We've really focused on reducing costs, and I think the American people will begin to see it. When gas was $5 a gallon, it was very hard for people to see anything else. But as the price of gasoline recedes and others, supply chain backlogs are reduced, you're going to see prices. There'll still be inflation, but I think they'll be somewhat lower. And I think people are going to see in the election, first, how far right the Republican Party has gone. Between the hearings about January 6th, the 3 court rulings on choice above all, but also guns and environment, and sort of the extremism and language and activity of so much of the Republican Party, I believe that people are seeing that they're an extreme party at the same time, and this is why this bill is so exciting in a political way. They're going to see Democrats are actually getting things done that matter to them, mainstream things that average folks, this is not an esoteric list. This is things that people have always cared about. In fact, when you look at the polling data, 2 of the top 3 things people want to see get done are closing loopholes on the rich and drugs, reducing the price of drugs. So I think it's going to have an effect. It's not the purpose of why we did it, but it's going to have a real effect, particularly in contrast to the Republicans who seem way over there, MAGA Republicans to the right side. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Hope I get